Hello, good morning. So, how are you? I am waiting for you to come online so we can continue our daily exploration of reality. And today I want to talk about something that is discussed in the great wisdom traditions of the East. It's called the mistake of the intellect. So, once again, today I would like to discuss with you a very important idea in the Vedanta, which is called mistake of the intellect. Mistake of the intellect. In Sanskrit, this is referred to as pragya aparad. Aparad means mistake, and pragya in this case means the intellect. So, what is the mistake of the intellect? Okay, I'm still waiting for a few more of you to come on, so we'll go from there. Okay, welcome Tony, welcome Christopher, welcome Lisa, welcome God, Munir, Bashir, welcome Tete, welcome Rita, welcome Liddy, welcome Theodore, welcome Nicole Sabel from Switzerland, welcome Chris, a teacher, welcome Marina, Lindsay, Kelly, good morning, Teresa, Greenhow, Great Rising, Rugma, Poo, good morning, Shalini, Josen, good morning, Sanda, good morning, Marina, good morning, Valentina, good morning from Chicago. Okay, we are up to about 800 people, so as soon as we get to 1,000, I'll start. Nyasa, Ray, good morning, Michelle, good morning, Rasha, good morning, Wanda, hello, Patty in Buenos Aires, or Buenos Dias, you said Buenos Dias. Good morning. Laurie, good morning. Susan, good morning. Stephanie, good morning. Brenda, good morning. Rekha, good morning. Kimberly Rose, good morning. Chandrama Rai, good morning. Okay, we're up to 900 people, so I'm going to wait one more minute and then we'll continue with our discussion. Ambika, good morning. Valerie, good morning. Kimberly Davis, good morning from Chicago. Jan, good morning. Becca, Grant Smith, good morning. Maria, good morning. Natalie, good morning. Okay, we're up there, my friends, almost 1,000 of you online, and hopefully more joining us, but we can now start our conversation. We're up to 1,000. Okay. So today I'm going to talk to you about a subject called the mistake of the intellect. So what is the mistake of the intellect? The mistake of the intellect is that I am an ego, body, mind in a world of space-time causality, the theater of space-time and causality, subject to random forces and the laws of physics, the mechanical, mathematical laws of physics, and my fate is to be squeezed into the volume of a body and the span of a lifetime. So I'm a brief flash of experience in the vastness of space and time. This is the mistake of the intellect. It's also called pragya. Pragya means intellect in this case, and aparad in Sanskrit, which means the mistake, the mistaken idea of identity coming from a very limited experience of perceptual reality. So let's explore this. Good. Ramanand Dikshit has also joined us. Okay, so now let's talk about Pragya Aparad. So some time ago, I was doing a dialogue with Don Hoffman, the cognitive scientist from University of California, University of California in Irvine, and this conversation was at the Rubin Museum. And earlier, I had done a conversation with Swami Sarva Priyananda at the same Rubin Museum, discussing Vedanta. And at that conference, somebody, Swami, Indian Swami from the Vedanta Society, was quoting the Vedanta, and this is what he said as a quote. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the quote online or anywhere I looked, but here's the quote. It sounds totally authentic and original. So the quote from the Vedanta is, "Space begins when we have a body. Time begins when we start thinking. Causation begins when we apply limitations." From the Vedanta. Once again, space begins when we have a body. Time begins when we start thinking. Causation begins when we apply limitations. Okay, so as we've discussed previously, let's first talk about these three ideas in detail and then see what we've discussed freely and how this understanding applies to freedom from what is called karma or even all kinds of suffering. So space begins when we have a body. Okay, so what is the misperception here? The misperception here is that I, that which I call I or I am, is contained in this body. I am is contained in this body. Okay, but I am is awareness, and since awareness has no form, it cannot be contained anywhere. If you look at me, then that's where your awareness is, and that's where you are. If you look at that painting behind me, that's where your awareness is, and that's where you are. Look at your own body and feel it, that's where you are. Look at the Empire State Building, that's where you are. Look at the Milky Way galaxy, that's where you are. You are where your awareness is. Now, just with your eyes closed or open, feel your toes. Well, that's your experience of existence right now, the feeling of the toes. Put your attention in your heart, that's where your experience of existence is now, the feeling or the awareness of your heart. You are where your awareness is, neither inside the body nor outside the body, where your awareness is. And awareness, having no form, cannot be contained in the body. The body itself is an experience, a changing perceptual activity in awareness. So the experience of space begins when we assume that we are in the body. But you as awareness, being formless and infinite, cannot be in the body. Okay? You can't be in the body. The body itself is in awareness and an experience in the body. Okay? So the experience of space begins when we assume that we are in something called a body. But there is no such thing. It's a changing perceptual activity interpreted as my body. Okay. So now we come to the second sentence of the saying from the Vedanta. Time begins when we start thinking. Very interesting, right? Time begins when we start thinking, because in the absence of thought, there is no time, which we call transcendence, which happens in meditation, mantra meditation, but any peak experience, first time slows down and then time disappears. So what is time? Time is the continuity of memory. Time is the continuity of memory using a false identity as the internal reference point. What is the false identity? The false identity is I am Deepak Chopra squeezed into the volume of a body in the span of a lifetime. So once I start thinking from this identity that my awareness is contained in my body, which, as I've just mentioned, is a misperception. It's a changing perceptual activity, but once we assume that identity, and then every experience comes from that identity, then we begin the experience of time. In reality, there is only the timeless now. The past is a present thought in the timeless now. The future is a present thought in the timeless now. And all experience actually is of the past by the time we register it. So what is time? It's just another construct depending on where you think you're located. So when you say time, what do you mean? New York time, Jupiter time, Mars time, Pluto time, intergalactic time, time in a black hole, which is zero, time across the event horizon, which is eternal, time from planet Earth, which began 13.8 billion years ago, time in a particular zone, just human constructs based on the false idea that I am located in a body. And in fact, geographical location itself doesn't exist. It's imposed by the ego identity squeezed into the volume of the body. And therefore, it's the movement of thought. Krishnamurti also said that time is the movement of thought. And I just said time is, Kyoto says, what is God time? God time is all time and no time at the same time. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, so now we can see that time is a mental construct. There's only the timeless now, and this mental construct is created by the false notion that I'm in a particular location. I am as awareness has no location. It's wherever your awareness is becomes the location. Okay, so time begins when we start thinking. That's the second phrase from the Vedanta. First was space begins when we have a body. Second, time begins when we start thinking. And now the third, causation begins when we apply limitations. So causality or causation. This is the cause of this. That is the cause of this. Every thing that is an effect is also a cause, and every cause is the result of an effect. This comes from limitations of the ego identity again. Okay, we cannot see the whole, which is infinite. So we see bits and pieces of the whole, and we see them with bits of sensory experience. And what we see is linear cause-effect, when in fact everything is simultaneously computed. All events are entangled with all other events, and all objects are, as space-time events, entangled with all other space-time events. So in the deeper reality, there's no causality. It's without cause. Awareness is without cause. But it gives us the appearance of causality as a result of the mistake of the intellect. Okay, so now we are getting there. What is causality to be replaced with? Causality can be replaced with correlation, entanglement, synchronicity, acausal, non-local, fundamental interrelatedness, what the Buddha called interdependent co-arising. Everything interdependently co-arises. Every event is the interdependent co-arising of all events as a snapshot of perceptual activity. I can see that you guys are always there. You're totally with me, and I'm so grateful that you're giving me your feedback as well. Okay, so there is no causality. There is only correlation and synchronicity. So now, what is the truth? The truth is that as awareness, you and I are without cause. Number one. Number two, that every event is synchronicity. So as we move in the direction of our true self, from ego identity to our true self identity, then we start to experience this. We don't feel that we are in the body, we experience the body in ourself. We don't see ourselves as victims of time, but as the creators of time. And we do not believe in karma or causality, because in the deeper reality, everything is synchronistic or correlated. Now, this is the experience that people have when they talk about flow states. Okay, they don't feel that they are in a body; they feel bodiless. So-called out-of-body experience. Secondly, they lose connection, at least during the peak experience or the flow experience, with their ego identity. Thirdly, everything slows down, time slows down, but ultimately you transcend time. There is no time. Fourthly, you do not believe anymore as a result of your experience that you're located in space-time, but as you flow in the lightness of being, you become the author of space, time, and causality. So that's it. You know, when I asked Don Hoffman to give me a comment on my book, Metahuman, this is what he says. We might suppose that the vastness of space-time, with its myriad stars and planets, comprises the pre-existing stage for a ceaseless drama of life in which we are bit players. In Metahuman, Deepak Chopra persuasively invites us to turn this supposition on its head. We are the authors of space-time. We can wake up to our impressive stagecraft and embrace our true role. What is our true role? Creators. We are creators, never victims. So I would encourage you, therefore, to also read. Of course, thank you for reading Metahuman and supporting it. We now have many people talking about it, and it's becoming part of our collective dialogue in at least a particular ecosystem of relationships. But do read Don Hoffman's book, The Case Against Reality. He makes a very good case against what we call naive realism. Naive realism basically is based on two suppositions. The world is physical and is exactly as perceived by the five human senses. And number two, that the physical world as perceived would exist even in the absence of consciousness. And as Don Hoffman has shown, and I am also saying in Metahuman, these are false assumptions based on perceptual artifacts, the interpretation of which is the mistake of the intellect. So thank you for joining me. I'm very grateful, and we are here, all 1,000 of us, and we shall continue with this dialogue. Thank you very much. Goodbye now, and I'll be back again, I hope tomorrow. But everything is unpredictable, and that's the joy of existence.